a pension 10, 15 years ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him, and 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
We're live. RTD, Monday night, the 4th day of the month of October. November. And we're live. Looking forward to having some good back and forth. And so, interesting subject matter tonight. We're going to be talking about an issue that is going to become more prevalent in the next couple of months because of the presidential debates and things that are underway, and more political figures' attempts to try to solve a problem that's at this point unsolvable because of the very nature of how it was created. And we're going to go back in history a little bit, and I'll share a couple things with you and get your thoughts, but more importantly, just want to brainstorm together, see how we can probably offer political figures a little bit of a solution if it's possible. So with that being the case, welcome to the live stream. My name is Mike, the host of RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. We are officially probably the only talk show that will talk about things that are somewhat controversial, somewhat uncomfortable, but yet things that need to be talked about. So, looking forward to having some good back and forth. As always, for those that are watching, if we have any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you're watching from in the chat. I would love to acknowledge your presence. It's definitely a blessing to be able to have you join us this night. And then also there's a number, 313-462-0027. Give me a call and let me know what's on your mind. So as always, we won't be long this evening, but I want to try to get to my main points, and then we'll go from there. So give me a second. Let me acknowledge a couple people here, and then I want to get right into tonight's subject matter. And so we got Spirit King. How you doing? We got Vutran the Tam the says hello. We got James. How you doing? RTD in the house. Anthony. We got Scott. We got Nathaniel. We got Terry, Alan, Gary. We got Eat Slim Milky, Fat Slim Milky. I'm sorry. Gary D, Nathaniel, Spirit King. Okay, so how's everybody doing this evening? And as always, if you guys have anything you want to touch on or talk about or things worthy of our time in regards to what's going on, let me know in the chat or give me a call. We'd love to elaborate on it. So we got Christopher from Portland, Oregon, watching. Appreciate you. Spirit King got a little trash can. A man throwing some trash. We got Joker. I'm not sure. Hi, Mike. Joe from Australia. Yeah, I got some interesting things I want to share about Australia. A couple of viewers out in Australia, one in particular, reaches out to me frequently and shares a lot of relevant information that, unfortunately, I don't get a chance to share with you guys much, but I figure I'll probably touch off on that a little bit. We got 10 pounds. Sterling, how you doing? We got Dwayne. Faith is in the building. Catherine. We got Shane. Okay, good deal. Ryo from Joseph says, greetings from Braintree, Massachusetts. All right. So now that we have an Australian viewer, feel free to let me know what's going on, anything additional. But it was brought to my attention from one of the RTD community members that Australia right now is going through some things right now. And by, I think, February of next year, they're going to have some final policy probably passed in their legislation there where the whole cash ban will probably be in full effect. So it's working its way through the political houses, and it's looking very favorable to probably pass starting in 2020. Therefore, transactions done above 10,000, I believe, in cash will become a prosecutable, if that's a correct word, offense where you can get, I think, 2 years in jail, up to 2 years in jail. I think $25,000 fine or something like that. And a lot of people aren't too happy about that. And I think what's happening in Australia could possibly be the front runner for the further push for cashless society, because in 2020 you can definitely expect, in my opinion, it to pick up steam here in the U.S., especially when you have economists and authors such as Ken Rogoff the author of Curse for Cash, with the very title itself, The Curse of Cash. Not sure how cash is a curse when it's, a tool that people use to, as Alan Myers mentioned, it's a function of exchange of value amongst each other or whatnot. So, but anyway, Australia is about to go through some things. And then on top of that, he was letting me know that one of his bullion dealers he deals with, and a couple in his area, their payment processing card unit no longer functions. So I think, based upon what he was sharing with me, is that Visa and MasterCard might be cracking down on direct sales at stores when it comes to precious metals. Therefore, you are limited in your ability to be able to spend your currency. You either have to do it via cash, which will become harder to do, or you have to do it directly on their website, which I would assume is more favorable for the eyes that be to monitor and track transactions and who's purchasing what. So things that, once again, I believe will probably be working its way stateside here in the not too distant future. So Australia definitely is having some stuff there that I think people need to be aware of. So as always, let me know what your thoughts are about that. Let me see here. And so Nathaniel says, what do you think of Glint? Great question, Nathaniel. So I mentioned Glint a couple of months ago. And so I personally was talking to some of their team about what was going on there prior to me hearing about some of the issues, some of the issues look like they're having. So to my knowledge, I haven't checked back in. I unfortunately, in speaking with one of their directors, I informed him that basically I could not get behind the project myself. And so I just was something that I couldn't put before you guys as a viable option. So I basically just, walked away from it and said, no, thank you. So just my gut feeling just wasn't that something that I personally would use myself. Nevertheless, try to recommend to you guys. So beyond that, I'm not sure what else is going on other than a couple months ago. I just told them that, I appreciate the opportunity, but couldn't really participate in it. So don't know what else is going on with it because I haven't followed it. What else? So Tony, appreciate that, my friend. So let's get right into my primary subject matter. And then also, I can't help myself, but I got to share a tweet from our president because it's one of the things where I like to read between the lines and probably go above and beyond what I should go. But, that's what this is all about. So what else we got here? So let me get right to the primary subject matter for this evening. And as always, you guys got any thoughts? Call me or stop me from ranting via the chat. Highlight at Rethinking a Dollar. If not, you know how I get started. When I start, I might not stop. So so let's get right into the primary subject matter. All right, so here's an article. I appreciate, I think Mr. Jeff passed this on to me earlier, one of the RTD community members. Appreciate it as always. If you guys come across articles, make sure you send me an email, let me know, or in a Telegram group, put it there, and I'll try to get to it. And so this is an interesting article here because this goes back to my initial thoughts in regards to how all of the prior promises that were made decades and decades ago were basically given at a time where there was a need for a temporary relief for an issue at that particular area, but they never really thought about the long-term consequences. And so now is the time where we're starting to experience more of the repercussions of our actions of their actions, where more things are coming to the surface and issues are needing to be addressed. And here's one that's just very important because I think the baby boomers will be the front runners for a lot of the catastrophes that will occur in our monetary system when it comes to broken promises. So here's an article here. It says, why are so many people over 55 going bankrupt? And so this article here, I had a chance to thumb through it, but ultimately what it boils down to is just the baby boomers are those that are entering into that next phase of life where they're looking to retire. Unfortunately, is one of the things where they were not aware of just the very structure of our monetary system being debt-based to where they would have ever thought that they would possibly run out of cash or run out of currency one day to be able to afford healthcare. Nevertheless, government getting so involved in healthcare, ultimately making it extremely expensive when you throw out a variety of programs that are designed to be user-friendly for the people who can't afford it or who don't have employment to offer it to them. And so once again, it turns into a race of just pure profit. And so here we have an example where we have several stories within this article here about people who just at a point in their life now where they didn't see it coming because they were not able to prepare for a health event, or realizing that they would have needed so much more beyond what they were told to set aside in order to enjoy their latter years. So I'll share a couple of stories here, and then as always, share your thoughts with me via chat or give me a call. We'd love to find out. But it says, why are so many older? Let me zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. Let me know if you guys can see this. All right, so this should be a lot easier to see. It says, why are so many older adults going bankrupt? One major factor behind the rise of these bankruptcies, medical debt. Medical debt. That's one thing that it's hard to really prepare for because no one knows how their health will turn out tomorrow, nevertheless, 10, 20, 30 years from now, apart from the fact that the way the society is going, the way that things are going, more people are coming down with illnesses or unforeseen events happening where the medical costs is starting to really put a major burden on a lot of people. So it says, in fact, 6 out of 10 people 65 and older who file for bankruptcy do so because they can't afford to pay their enormous medical bills, Lawless says. And here's an example right here. It says, Steven, 66, a retired handyman who prefers not to reveal his name, says, quote, multiple injuries. So just from work events throughout the years. And that's another thing. When, working for your employer, especially if you're in the sector where you're using your hands, you're physically involved, injuries, injury done when you're in your 30s, you can get it patched up in the meantime, but you never know 10, 20, 30 years down the line how, if you work on your knees 24/7, you're more than likely going to have bad knees. If you are constantly in and out of a truck or whatever, your hips might go bad. So those are things that employers and just the whole healthcare system doesn't really take into account when you're being offered some type of product in the form of a healthcare plan in regards to the lawn care aspect. And so I'm going to, progress and keep going to where there's more talk about what's the solution right now, which is, once again, the best that can be offered according to the people that, are part of the problem. But it says, led to medical bills that he couldn't pay, and those bills led to him declaring bankruptcy in April 2019. Declaring bankruptcy wiped clean the medical bills he couldn't pay. Steve's focus now is on staying in his house. So now he has to shift attention from basically trying to stay on his feet, staying in his house, assuming he owns his house, not sure. It says he has lived there for 40 years. He's working out a loan modification with his bank to continue residing there. So one amongst many stories of just situations where people, unfortunately, were not able to or aware of the importance of looking at the big picture. Because once again, we were a part of and this is where I'm probably going to get into this more in depth later on. But I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I'm at that time in life where I'm really beginning to try to position myself mentally for the changes that are coming in the next decade, especially, but thinking long term. And I realize majority, if not all the information that's been shared with us to this current point has been a part of the narrative of give your best years up front and then we'll take care of you when you get older type of information and education that has been given. And that doesn't work. It stopped working officially once the economy tanked in 2008-09 with the great financial crisis. And ever since then, more people are starting to feel the side effects of that model of information having expired a decade ago, but it's still being given. So this upcoming decade, I believe that more people will wake up to the reality that because of monetary policy having changed and going through its last leg of trying to hold things together, there's no way in this world where people should continue to do what was considered practical pre-great financial crisis, in my opinion. So with that being the case, it got me thinking about all types of things, and I'm really hitting hard on the retirement concept because I believe those that are still in their better prime years of work and deployment of your gifts and talents into the system, it'll be worth our while to do things a little bit different, think outside the box, and I'll get into more of that in the future. But in relaying the importance of understanding the retirement model, a lot of it has to do with this is all my opinion, of course, that it was a part of a corporate ploy. And what I mean by corporate ploy is that it was a plan designed for the time, give or take 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, pre or post Vietnam War, especially post World War II and World War I time frame, as the world economy shifted into the industrial age with the American dream concept being born. And then I'm going to actually get into some things that were a result of that, which is the reason why we're experiencing what we're experiencing now. But the corporate ploy is still very prevalent, because now I pull up articles all the times where the mainstream narrative still trying to sucker people into doing things that is not working. And a primary example is right now. I've posted videos about the pensions failing and all the products that spun off of that in 1971 and 72. And those are all products that have very limited ability to be fulfilled. And so, yeah, I can go on and on and go on. But it looks like I want to acknowledge Bitcoin Ben. How you doing, my friend? We got to talk. I want to speak to you about something. And let me see here. I appreciate the love offering to the channel. It says, I'm hearing rumors that Deutsche Bank filed for bankruptcy today. News breaks tomorrow. My thoughts. Ben, I appreciate that question. I have not been able to dive into that. But since we're on here, let me check and see if there's any rumors floating around that could shine some light on that pre-market opening tomorrow. And so let me see here. Okay. Well, one thing that stands out that I think is worth mentioning is this whole reveal. Deutsche Bank has cut nearly 6,000 jobs. So if they're filing bankruptcy, as rumor might have it, that 6,000 jobs is about to triple by the end of this year. So I'm not familiar with that. I'll definitely keep my ears to the ground. But one thing that it doesn't surprise me at all that could be the case, because you've covered, I've covered it. Deutsche Bank is having major issues. They are one of the primary dominoes that's bound to fall over. And I would imagine they probably have already tipped over. But the ECB in Germany and Federal Reserve especially, I know Steve Mnuchin, I think, did like a little Middle East European tour. And I'm sure he stopped by Deutsche Bank or the ECB, Christine Lagarde, to try to figure out what they're going to do. Because the last hoorah will be a concerted effort by all central banks to keep this thing going, to get a couple more months or years out of this system. So I'm not surprised. And I imagine once that becomes official news, if they allow it to, expect a lot more dominoes to tumble over as well, because I've heard about them trying to separate and break down the bank into bad non-performing loans over here and all that type of stuff. But they can do the best they can. But all this stuff must come to a halt sometime. So it's only so much papering over you can do before belly up. So, but I appreciate the love offering, my friend, and definitely I'll be commenting more on that in the days ahead, because once again, it's something that we're all going to feel on this side of the pond. So good stuff, my friend. I appreciate it. But just to get back to the primary subject matter for tonight, retirement. And so retirement, the very idea is a corporate ploy, in my opinion. This is all just my thoughts. I encourage you to formulate your thoughts around this or use this as a guide, but definitely come up with your own method to your madness. But the corporate ploy of keeping your money in the system by you giving your best now in hopes of getting their best later, and their best has come to an end with corporate buybacks, monetary easing. It's not QE though, and the like. So let's get into what they're going to try to be spinning off in the next couple months. And this is where it's hard to ignore this news. But the Medicare for All Act of 2019 by Mr. Bernie Sanders. And so we have Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, which appear to be the primary front runners for the Democratic Party, barring some type of who knows. But they are going back and forth over just offering as much free stuff as they can. That's the goal. How much free stuff can you give away? And so I pulled up a couple articles here because as of today, there were several reports about, I guess, Nancy Pelosi sharing her thoughts on how she thinks that's a bad idea. So when you got a person in her position who's a lifelong political figure talking about that's a bad idea, that's something that should be a concern, because that shows the disconnect on the Democratic side. But give an idea here. Here's an article here from, this was as of yesterday on Sunday, and it says, new analysis confirms Medicare for All will cost a fortune. And once again, I don't think the cost is of importance at this current point, because it doesn't matter. They're not paying back any bills anyway. But give you an idea. Let me zoom in some so you can see what's going on, and then I'll keep adding to it because I got a couple other things I want to put on top of this. But it says Senator Elizabeth Warren recently released a plan that would cost more than $50 trillion. $50 trillion. Okay, where do you get $50 trillion from? Don't worry about it. You just borrow it. From who? Don't worry about it. Just print the T-bills and all the bonds, and the central bank, they'll fund you directly. Okay. And offset the cost with a wealth tax and other mandates. So once again, give something free, tax those that use the very loopholes they put in play to get some of those funds back, as if they're not going to find another way around that. So, yeah, I'm going to keep going, but I want to acknowledge a love offering to the channel. Victor Belfield, how you doing, my friend? Appreciate that. Says funding their materialistic lifestyles, keeping college tuitions paid, supporting grown children at home over spending. So I'm assuming you're referring to more of the policies that will be rolled out in the next year. So between now and November 4th, 2020, especially, expect some of the most craziest ideas and comments. And think about the tweets that President Trump will be spewing out between now and next November. He's going to open up a can of whoop tail on Jerome Powell first, Nancy Pelosi second, and the Democratic Party third, and whoever the front runner is for the Democratic Party. We're about to have some of the funniest tweets coming from a president, we got a front row seat to an unbelievable show. And the goal is not to lose your mind, but enjoy this ride. But realize that it's your responsibility to do whatever it is you can to protect, preserve, and to prosper yourself and your family in the days ahead. So, yeah, don't lose your mind. Be of good cheer. Bitcoin Ben, I got your question. I do not have it. I was looking for it. But shoot me, if you don't mind, shoot me a call real quick. And so I'll have it, and then I'll definitely reach out to you. It says federal employees, system designed to confiscate your wealth. Yeah. It says, Mike, I got 300 ounces of silver to buy. Should I wait for a slam down? Low blood pressure. Great question. My personal opinion, not advice, would be because we can't determine the outcome of any of this. My personal opinion is that the spot price right now is probably going to be the cheapest we'll see. Granted, they're going to try a couple more slam downs, but as we've witnessed over this year itself, those slam downs of talking, who was 30,000, 33,000 gold futures contracts was dumped on the market Friday or something like that. And the market doesn't really move the way it used to. So I think it's becoming more challenging for them to actually dump and impact the prices. So I personally am of the mindset that if you got the paper to spend, just, in my personal opinion, pull the trigger, because anywhere it go, if your mindset is 10 years from now or longer, you're not going to lose out. Just because of all the stuff that's happening, metals will get a great bid regardless of whatever you get it for now. So remind you, this is about a marathon, not a sprint. So my personal opinion would be to do whatever you feel is necessary, which I know that you know what to do. So I appreciate you for asking me that question. So we had a caller, wasn't sure. See if I can give me a call back, or let me see what that is. So let's keep it going. So once again, here I go. I'm getting sidetracked. So I apologize. Let me get to a couple more questions, if any. Kid Chameleon, appreciate the chiming in. So, okay, let me keep moving, because if not, as always, like last week, came out with the article, didn't even get to the article because I started ranting all the time because you guys don't let me just finish my talks. But anyway, just playing. Okay, so so the solution. Guarantee every politician from this point on going to offer something free. That's the only thing they can do, because they need to buy votes. That's the best way you can stay in office, to buy votes. So here we go. Medicare for all. Just today, I saw some articles about it, saw some comments about it. So I'm like, let me talk about it, because once again, it's a solution to a problem that was not well thought out decades ago when the politicians that implemented those policies were in office, because they're long gone. Unfortunately, time has gone on. They're passed away now. But once again, they don't matter. It don't matter to them because they kicked the can. So kicking the can is all they can do. So how do we get to this point? Let's go down the list a little bit. So I thought I would pull up something. And so this is just a Medicare for All, Bernie Sanders proposal on how he's going to fund this. It's like, what is it? Like 3 pages of theory that, once again, at this point, theory does us no good. But here's the reason why we're at this point. And so as a part of, and so this very concept here, so this goes back to the 60s. And so I've been doing some diving into this and just trying to pull up old documentation to understand, because this is before I was around. So I wasn't around to really get a chance of understanding what's going on. But I'm able to look back and see what history does and learn from history. And in learning from history, I learned that we've been bamboozled. But we got a call. Or we had a call. I apologize for that. Give me a call if you're trying to call in. Should be good to go on my end. But so the Great Society program, LBJ brought it to existence, or it was in the works prior to LBJ, but he was the one that decided finally to put his name on the dotted line. And what was a part of that? It was all the promises of trying to eliminate and alleviate poverty. There was a war on poverty that was the cause for all these social programs, because it was one of the things where a part of the corporate ploy, all the employees that worked from the 20s, 30s, 40s that were still feeling the repercussions and the side effects of the Great Depression, which carried into the 40s, never fully recovered. So there was more citizens being hoarded into cities that weren't able to maintain a decent standard of living, but yet they, unfortunately, were dependent upon their corporations or starting the government. So Social Security was 1935. As a part of the Great Depression, an immediate act given to the people because people lost all their wealth. Fast forward 30 years later, here we are. Between that time frame, people were still struggling. So poverty became an issue in our country. So here's some interesting stuff here. There was a result of this. So all these programs, it says the most ambitious and controversial part of the Great Society was its initiative to end poverty. So it looks like JFK attempted to start it, but didn't finish it. But we got a call. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on? It's Bitcoin Ben.
Bitcoin Ben, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. So I appreciate you calling me, so I got your number. But if you don't mind, shine a little light on that whole Deutsche Bank situation you mentioned, because I'm curious to hear about that.
Well, I really don't have any information on it more than I received a message from a friend who lives over in Europe, and apparently his brother works there. So I'm assuming he would know.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing I do know is I saw an article, I think it was last week, and it mentioned about Deutsche Bank looking to pass down some of those negative rate burdens that they're taking on to lower tiers of savers. So I think it's the middle tier of savers. So those slightly above 150 euros or 250 euros will now be impacted by that negative interest rate over that area. So beyond that, I mean, they only can go down further to where they get everybody under 100,000, and then what? Like at that point, if you barely have enough in there, it's good to say you're not going to keep in there what you have. So you're going to be pulling out. And so I did articles a while back about, I think it was at least several billion being pulled out per week already. And this was months ago. So I imagine that's still going on. So they're losing funds over there, I imagine.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I'm as encouraged as ever with the price of gold and silver and actual cryptocurrencies is as they're charging you money to hold your own money, then that creates a pressure on the general public to look for another route to hold your wealth. And not saying that people won't actually go out and grab a little gold and a little silver. But in the modern world, it's easier to create an account and grab like some Litecoin or some Bitcoin or Ethereum or even create an account on Coinbase, transfer in all of your USD and hold it in US
stable coins.
Coins.
Yeah.
Because then it isn't really costing you anything
Yeah.
to hold it in an account like that, where if you're over in Europe and they're charging you, why would you?
Yeah, very good, very true. So my personal opinion is that as all this stuff unfolds with this chaotic mess in the financial realm, banks are on the verge of being rendered useless. Therefore, I would imagine they already have some things that they're going to try to roll out to keep confidence in their system. So whether it be some type of JP Morgan coin or them coming out with some type of decentralized wallets or whatever they're going to try to send out there to the public to keep themselves relevant, they're probably going to be rolling out right now if they're not already doing so. So, yeah, competition is an animal. But I got a couple other things that really concern me about, could this all be a part of their plan initially in the first place?
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. It's I think this I think the years since the Great Recession have all actually been planned out. The Great Recession was such an event. There's no way that they could not have seen it actually coming. There's no way possible. Right. It's like you're out on the ocean and there's this huge wave heading at you and you don't really see it until it hits you.
Yeah.
I don't buy it. They live in a world where watching the flows and watching the numbers and the charts and report after report after report, that's what they do. And there's no way that anyone will tell me that just all of a sudden, oh my gosh, we have a liquidity problem. Right. Really. And I think that this is a way to transition us without blame. This just happened and we had to do this. Yeah. When in reality, because let's look back at the creation of what's really causing all of our problems, which is the creation of derivatives and how many there are out in the world. Yeah. If you create a derivatives market, you know what you're creating. You are creating an alternative to a physical market.
Yeah.
Well, why would you do that? Well, this is why. Because you know you're going to inflate your currency and you need another place for the inflation to flow to without raising the prices of the actual assets. If we didn't have derivatives, how much would oil be right now? How much would corn actually be? Because when you print up that much currency, it will go somewhere.
Yeah.
And and I think they knew that they would be printing up so much money and have printed up so much currency that they needed the derivatives market so that all of this USD wouldn't raise up gold and silver just unbelievably.
Yeah.
Now, with the cryptocurrency market, what I think this is this is the transition into the new world, the new electronic
ecosystem.
Where the old world is slowly dying off, and they're transitioning into a world that is trackable, controllable, and regulated at every way possible. Because I think that a lot of projects that are launching right now in the cryptocurrency world are going to help transition and transmit the purchasing power of the wealthy out of the old currencies and into the new ones.
Yeah, I agree. But Ben, watch this. I'm gonna reach out to you definitely because I want to get you on. I want to have you on the show. We can talk further because a lot of people are pro crypto and anti crypto. So I want to definitely give you a chance to share some thoughts with us. And as well, I want to try to throw you some curveballs and just go back and forth and just try to talk this thing through because I believe we are being ushered into it deliberately. And so I think it's good to have some interesting back and forth dialogue between those that are for it and against it because I'm in between. So I'm anywhere I go, I think it's gonna come. So I'm so not pro or anti. I'm in the middle. So, but definitely I'm gonna reach out to you and we talk further.
I'd love to, brother.
For sure, my friend. Appreciate it. Thanks for calling.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Yeah, man, great stuff. Appreciate the call. So yeah, so definitely, and so that's why I thought about this today. And I think right now, especially ending 2019, is going to be a great time to begin having those conversations because we really need to. I think everybody who's tuning in thus far, there's questions, there's thoughts, there's ideas that we all have to share. And I think the best way to really get things rolling is to go in the realm where it's uncomfortable. We got to be more we got to become more excited to go down the route where it's less challenged. And so I think there's people out here who are anti-crypto, pro-crypto. We got to get together and start talking about what are some real solutions and options and how to guide people in a way that people feel comfortable either choosing to opt out in that particular manner or not, but yet going back and forth because I've noticed in the communities in the alternative media space, so many people are, oh, he's crypto. Oh, that's a scam. Like, come on now. Like at this point, we know what the scam is. Like, it's technically it's us, we the people versus them, the establishment, the banking sector, the whatever. So we can't afford to go back and forth over the nitty gritty things. Let's get down to how we can, persevere through this. And so I'm assuming everybody would be willing to agree that your anchor is going to be metal, but anything on top of that is according to your knowledge base and what you're comfortable with dealing with in regards to risk, because everything has risk. If you're alive and breathing air, there's risk. So it's more so, what do you feel comfortable with and what are you willing to educate yourself on? So Definitely going to be reaching out to more crypto individuals as well as metals. And so tomorrow I got Jeff Berwick on at 4 p.m. So I'm going to try to throw some curveballs at Jeff because I know he's a heavy crypto guy and but metals guy as well. So I'm going to try to throw some curveballs at him. So once again, for those, call in tomorrow or check us out at tomorrow at 4 p.m. Jeff Berwick is on. Give us a call. Ask questions. I want to get to the point where I'm starting to make people uncomfortable because I want to get real with the questions. I'm tired of the sugar coating stuff. Come on now. Time is wasting, man. But anyway, so yeah, let me get back to my little thoughts. I'm going to finish this off. And so I appreciate the call and the thoughts. Let me finish off my little rant here with sharing thoughts on how we arrived at this mess. So the whole idea and what gave light to the need for social programs from the government was the war on poverty. And so Kennedy took it on, but yet it's one of the things where it didn't really take headwind. And so it says the centerpiece of the war on poverty was the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964, which created an Office of Economic Opportunity to oversee a variety of community-based anti-poverty programs. So that's how we arrived at all these programs which are being addressed now, which the funding aspect was always an issue because how can you fund something where the person that starts it and issues it don't produce anything? Everything comes from tax revenue. So at that time, taxes for the wealthy, I think, was like 60%, 70%. So there was somewhat of funds, but yet there wasn't as much debt. It wasn't as much dependence upon the government. So fast forward now, here are all the programs, education programs, giving people the right to school. So the Elementary and Secondary Education of Act 1965. Then we got the Higher Education Act of 1965, which basically gave the government the right to get in there and start funding people to go to college. And so here we are now, student loan debt, almost $2 trillion. Why? Because Uncle Sam got involved in 1965, offering people student loans, which was basically a tax on the people's future earnings. So the goal is we'll front you the money. We're going to collect it back as you get into employment and you work for us basically. And so that was a Higher Education Act of 1965. Look at what's happening now. $2 trillion worth of student loans can't be paid off. So now we got Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren talking about let's forgive these people because they didn't know. Of course they didn't know. Healthcare, here we go. This is the biggest thing. The Social Security Act of 1965 authorized Medicare and provided federal funding for many of the medical costs of older Americans. So once again, the program was offered as a way to help the older people who were not able to set aside and save for retirement because it wasn't there due to the Great Depression, which wiped away all their savings and whatnot. So here we have programs now where now Medicare for all is what they're trying to throw out there. So when we got political figures talking about now, everybody deserves health care. Everybody has a right to be healthy. Now, how they maintain their health goes to their personal choices, their personal preference, their diet habits, smoking, drinking, all that stuff factors into your current health. But then again, if you abuse yourself, if you abuse your body, don't take care of yourself, then once again, does the government step in and say, okay, we'll provide for you at this point in your life? No, it should be something where everybody has an opportunity everybody should have an opportunity to be able to acquire healthcare at an affordable cost if there was less regulation and restrictions on the do's and don'ts, which makes it very unprofitable, or because there's no competition, true competition, we cannot get access to quality healthcare like the healthcare that's unfortunate in a lot of second world countries. It somehow seems to be better than what's here in the U.S. at times, more affordable especially. But anyway, so Medicare for all, that's where we're going to be at the next year. There's going to be more push for it, and as more of the economy squeezes in on people, there's going to be more people wanting and calling for free this, free that. Then we got to address welfare. And so it says a number of improvements were made to Social Security program, which in terms of both coverage and adequacy of benefits, the Tax Adjustment Act of 1966 included a provision for special payments. Special payments is what it was called under the Social Security program to certain uninsured individuals aged 72 and older. So welfare was initially a part of the idea that we'll help provide food assistance for the older population. But what happened? Once again, the government got involved and gave it to everybody. So now everybody and their mother who are underprivileged because of a lack of information, awareness, and activity to take responsibility for their own lives. Now we have a whole portion of the population that's dependent upon programs now, and this was all by design, in my personal opinion. So, give you a little bit of a history on how all this came about. And it was never well thought out because, once again, when you look at the numbers, when we just look at the numbers at where we're at now and the cost of things, here I have the U.S. debt clock. There's more red than green, meaning that there's more old than is being created. And so if you go down to the very bottom and you got some of the liabilities that are considered unfunded liabilities because they're not on the direct balance sheet, we got Social Security, one of the very programs I just highlighted that was created in 1965 with the idea of offering senior citizens a way to enjoy their latter years. Once again, when you have more people, I guess, eventually withdrawn than put in, and then you got the funds that were set aside in the 90s being utilized for whatever, whether it's there or not, and the government borrowing it, whatever. But once again, it's a system that's designed upon more young, fresh talent / employees to add to it. But now, it used to be, I think it was for every 3 retirees, there is 1 worker or something like that. And now it's like for every 7-8 retirees, there's only 1 worker. And in this next decade, it's going to be every 11 or 12 retirees for every 1 worker. So the numbers are not adding up. So we got $20 trillion of Social Security, one of the great society programs that's failed. We got Medicare for All, which is $31 trillion, another one that failed. And so the total U.S. unfunded liabilities, according to what's on this chart right here, this number right here above my head, which you guys probably can't see, it says $126 trillion that is expected to be carried on the balance sheet or off balance sheets of the Uncle Sam, and that they have to chip away with at that debt, all those obligations month by month, when it comes to either paying insurance companies, or hospitals, whatever, or sending people a check in the mail, which that check won't provide for them the way that it did 30, 40 years ago or 50 years ago when the program was created. So to sum all this up, we're at a point where the math no longer works. So no matter whatever is thrown out there, no matter whatever a politician suggests and say, this is what we need to do because this will help. This will help alleviate poverty. They tried that in 1965. Look at what it's done. There's more people now in poverty in this country than there was then. And things were better then because the cost of living wasn't as bad. So I would encourage everybody, if you have not. And so once again, it's one of the things where my goal is to help people realize the importance of taking advantage of information when it comes your way. And so I'm about to get ready to dial back. I missed a couple calls. I apologize. I couldn't take those calls because I know that if I took them, I would have been taken down a road that I wasn't willing to go down just because I want to get all this out. And so once again, to go back, the importance, how important it is for everybody. If you're watching this, if you're new to the channel or whatever, what I need for you to do, what I would like for you to do, I would like for you to go to the video portion of this video of the channel here. Go back to 3 weeks ago to this article right here. Where we at? To this video right here. This video right here is something that every American needs to see. And so far, there's only 4,700 people out of 300 million people, roughly, that need to see this. Because I think if you see this video here, so this video right here, the pension problem, it gave me a chance to get some interesting dialogue in my own family amongst those who were not really comfortable with talking about this matter prior to. But this is one of the things where this is not my opinion. This is what people really felt 40-some years ago. And all the sad stories that came out of this and all the individuals that were part of this documentary are gone now. So it's good to say that they died at a time. They died and they had to endure probably their latter years in a very uncomfortable state because of the pension problems. But there was no solution from the pension era, as you can see from GE talking about now offering payouts now. So GE is willing to they're offering people a buyout, basically saying that instead of taking care of you for the next 30 years, we'll give you a couple $100,000. which is nowhere near enough to take care of you the rest of your whole life. But it's either you get it now while you can, or you don't. And then what's going to really kick in the next year or two is going to be the automotive sector. And as I've said before, here in Detroit, GM, Ford, Chrysler, those are the backbones of our nation when it comes to manufacturing. Every corporation in this area has something to do with the big three. And so once GM, the strike resolves, but they're going to end up having issues next year anyway. So there's going to be more broken promises, but people need to see this video right here. So definitely go back and share this video on your social media accounts. And so it's one of the things where it just puts you in a position where you can start having some dialogue with your family and friends about something that they're going to be confronted with, whether they want to or not, because as I mentioned, the math is not working. So when the math doesn't work, what happens? Promises are broken. So here's the link right here for those that may not know what I'm talking about. But click that link, watch this documentary, and then share it. Once again, I played my part by bringing it to you. Now it's up to you to do yours. So that being the case, get ready to dial back. We got Rumpel from Germany. I appreciate you, my friend. Give us some insight on what's happening in Germany. What's up with Deutsche Bank? What's up with the negative interest rates? How is that impacting you? I'm curious to find out. We got Miyagi says, I work at Ford. Miyagi, Ford. Let me see what I've heard about them. Their bonds, borderline junk. They're 1 or 2 grades away from being considered junk status, which means that in order for them to get future investment, they're going to have to up their interest rates, which means they're going to have to put themselves further into debt by offering more in return, which only puts them in further issues because, once again, the car industry has already changed. Unfortunately, Ford, they've offered better quality cars, but a little bit too late in regards to the competition out there. So I'm not too confident about the automotive sector, even though that's the backbone of my hometown. But with that being the case, people, it has been great hanging out with you guys. I appreciate the back and forth. I appreciate you guys being able to hang out with me as much as you have been. I thank you for tolerating my rants. As always, I got a lot more things to rant about. So here's that video here. Pensions, the broken promise. I came across this in a very timely manner, and I'm glad I found it. And it's one of them things. I just need people to share it because, once again, the information's out there. It's a unfolding of all the problems, which are a result of just bad math and bad promises. But there's solutions out there. So once again, for those that know what to do, pray. This is the greatest time that we'll need our Lord and Savior. And I can be blunt now because I'm past the point of really concerning myself with whether you believe or not. But, right now we need wisdom. The current knowledge and information that's been given won't cut it because we're witnessing the best that man can do. And as you see, because we've been tainted because of the evil forces that be, the rulers of the powers of this world, has done us in. But yet there's hope because Christ sits on the throne, and I'm excited because I believe that God has some things in store for his people. He's never let us down. He's never let me down. So I'm very grateful for that. But I can go on preaching forever, but I'm not going to. But definitely one of my primary objectives is to study the book of Proverbs. I believe I've been instructed, for the most part, that Solomon, the wisest man that ever walked this earth, left a lot of interesting things that we should pay attention to. And so over the next couple of weeks, months, I'm going to be sharing that because I just have to. So, but I'm going to stop. And it says, Tony Black says, prayer won't do nothing you can't do for yourself. Tony, we got to have some dialogue back and forth, my friend, because prayer, when you really boil down to it, I'm actually reading a great book. I'm going to share that book with you as well, but it has to do with just simple belief patterns, neuroplasticity, replaying the same mental intentions associated with emotional connection that creates what you consider a belief. And so that goes into your paradigm, of which I would definitely want to get into that as well. But everybody believes in something. Now, whether you choose to single point it towards one entity or one person, or if you're more on the broad side where you prefer terminology such as the universe, wherever you fit in that, it's either the universe or it's God. It's up to you, but everyone believes in something. I personally feel more comfortable single pointing it because if I'm wrong, what's the worst thing can happen? I don't, according to the principles given to me, don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat. If I live by those, I will I think I'll be doing pretty good as far as my contribution to humanity. And so those are just basic principles. So whether you want to give credit to the author or the originator of those thoughts, those are concepts and things we do anyway. And so once again, that's information that I didn't get from the universe. I got it from a single entity. So it's just stuff that I like to live by. But I can go on and on, man. But I'm going to stop because once again, not everybody want to hear this. But this is where the channel is going. So if you are a person of faith, you might want to stick around because I'm going to try to share more of my own personal journey. And if you're not, then stick around for the bad news. If bad news is what you're here for, there's going to be more than enough of that. But I'm going to try to sprinkle a little good news on top of that. So, but anyway, man, I'm done. I'm done. Anyway, people, it's been great hanging out as always. All the resources you need down below are available to you. If you want them, go get them. If you don't, it's on you. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Tomorrow, 4 p.m., Jeff Berwick will be joining me. Let's bring some great questions to him. Tune in, call in, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you guys come prepared with some questions for us. Appreciate your time and energy. Other than that, people, as always, if you want to be a blessing to the channel, if you want to take your game to the next level to help out the channel and the content that's created, Patreon. There's different levels that you guys can show your support. If you do, I appreciate it. If not, the show must go on. So I appreciate you. But anyway, information down below. And other than that, I'm going to leave you with this. Peace. Hey there, sorry for this interruption, but I wanted to bring something to your attention. If you've been enjoying this live stream, why don't you partner with me and be a support to the channel via Patreon membership for just a minimum of $5 a month. All you have to do is scroll down beneath this video here, click the Patreon link, then consider donating as little as $5 a month towards the channel. A little bit of crumbs can go a long way, and I appreciate your support. Now, let's get back to this live stream.